I love
But
the
of
heat.
course, speaking of drugs, I got to ask you about the great Artie Lange. Uh, for me personally, I stopped listening to the Stern Show pretty much as soon as it became clear that Artie was never coming back. When there's always been this opinion that in but it's like it splits the fan base in half, where people would say, did Howard Stern exploit or take advantage of Artie's real life issues and turn it into show content instead of actually giving a shit about someone's personal health? So from your perspective, Casey, what was your take on those type of accusations?
Yeah, man. Look, we knew going into it is that your life is going to be put out there. You know, if you could get a favor from someone, say, hey, you know, this isn't for the air. This story is not for the air. And sometimes that would happen between the guys or whatever. But we knew that what we did was going out on the air. So I don't subscribe to that way of thinking that Howard was at fault for exploiting Artie. Artie lived his life. Artie's going to do it. And Artie, he's famous for saying it. Artie's going to do whatever the fuck he wants to do. And he did. So you can't tell an adult, a grown man, what to do. He was going to do whatever he wanted, and that's the way he chose to live his life. It's like you know, it's what adults do. It's called being an adult. You know.
Hmm. Uh, my mom was telling me that last night when she was preparing my but fuck it, I couldn't think of the fucking word.
I know where you were going
Anyway,
now.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think obviously, Artie had like his up and down times throughout his tenure on the show, but you can't predict what an addict's going to do, if he's going to come in straight one day, or if he's going to come in, high off his ass. The time when I was there, Artie, I guess, was in like a good period because he was there, he showed up, he was doing his thing. But how do you predict it? If he goes
Yeah,
off on a bender and he's gone for a month, how the hell do you know? I mean, he's got a contract, and obviously Artie's had many contracts in his time in the business, and he's either honored them or he's gone off the rails and he's breached them.
yeah,
When he's there with Howard, you got to really, really, really be on your best behavior. So, I mean, look, they had to cut the ties at some point. So, I mean,
yeah.
he lasted a while. He was that bad of an addict. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, usually, I guess when you get to HR, I guess they have to try and look. You know, of course, Artie was 10 times more important than I was, so I got, they sent me. Well, actually, they gave me a couple chances. I got suspended one time, and then the second time went to the rehab, and then I stopped going to the rehab. So they said, "All right, we got to let you go." But when you're as talented as Artie, and you are so important to the show as Artie on the air, I guess it's hard to let someone like that go, because a lot of the material is the addict stuff that
Right.
that he was living, and it was real, and he made that choice, and he'll be the first one to tell you that. Look, this the life is not easy at times, so that's why we love the show, I guess, to start with, probably, is because it was real. You saw some guy struggling, and even through it all, he was so funny,
Mm.
I hope he's doing all right. I haven't talked to him in a long time.
Was there ever a feeling behind the scenes in the offices where they thought that Artie should have been maybe not fired from the show, but he should have been like sort of forced to go to rehab? Because I always remember an episode when Artie was like standing up to watch some sort of hoor thing going on with two dish rag fucking hoors. Not, I don't mean to be offensive, Chad,
Hey,
but and Artie literally just sort of lost consciousness and fell backwards and hit his head off the fucking wall, and you
Like,
could
you have to drunk, like, do something like that?
yeah, yeah, and you could
Oh,
see
shit.
and you could see that Artie was like in pain, but he was like sort of passing out, and it's like he's on fucking heroin,
Wow.
and it's like 9 a.m. Like he shouldn't be. Like if it was 9 o'clock at night, it was acceptable. When you're high in the morning, you may have a problem. That's my hot take of the episode.
What a hell that must be, to to go through that. But that'd be a question for Chad, because when I was there, that shit wasn't happening with Artie. He was kind of doing it maybe on the weekends. He probably was, but he did a better job at hiding it. But Chad would tell you more, I think.
From when I was there, from what I remember, and, granted, 2005, 2006 is still now, 17, 18 years ago at this point. I mean, I don't remember him really missing any time. And he was kind of riding high at that point, because that's after Beer League. That's when around the time his book was about to come out. So he was kind of starting to really hit a high point. So no pun intended. So I don't really remember him being in a bad time at that point.
Uh-huh.
I remember him kind of being
worry about him. You're saying.
Exactly. Right. I remember that kind of being like a good zone for him. I mean, he came in still looking, like Artie. He's still disheveled as fuck coming in, the same beat up Yankee shirt every day. It was the same thing. He just tell me the Mets suck every time I saw him. It was the same thing. But whenever, he just, I think that if I was to look back again, I haven't really went back and listened to a show from that period in a long time. But from what I recall, I remember that being like a semi-decent period for him.
Yeah. Well, Chad, we're talking about a guy that I multiple times would pick up off the floor in the green room to bring him on stage, barely getting him up, and he was a heavy fuck. And he'd get up there like he didn't miss a beat. He was such a professional. He would kill. And 2 minutes ago, he was laying down on the floor in the green room. That's the guy that you talk about a gamer. You talk about somebody, who can turn it on. That was he was a pro. He was definitely a pro.
Yeah, he didn't have like any assistants there at the time. He would come and go on his own. There was nothing that I remember seeing that he needed somebody as a handler to bring him in and out. I mean, it was just him, walking in and out of the building. That's all it was around that time.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that Howard Stern and Artie were actually friends, or did it just come across to you, even behind the scenes, that it was just a host and his sidekick?
I would say 100%. They're called showbiz friends. I'm sure Howard cared about him. I'm sure that he liked him and they liked each other. But as far as being polar opposite people, you wouldn't catch those guys hanging out at a bar on a Saturday watching a game. It's just they're just different people. It doesn't mean they don't like each other, but I think it was a work relationship, and you try and hang out, and you try and be as nice as you can and do things with people that you work with out of respect. And I believe Howard tried to do that. But as far as being polar opposites, those two were definitely that. Not like they didn't get along, but they were just from two different tracks in life.
It's funny that I always remember this Artie Lange story where it made me realize that, being a prostitute maybe is not that much fun. Where he told a story about how he had done a show in Vegas or some hotel, and the agent sent up two hers to his hotel room, and he said, so they both started blowing him, and then he said that one of them started eating his ass. And I just thought, like, that must have been fucking disgusting, that fat piece of shit. Like I'd rather fucking lick the inside of a fake leg than fucking Artie Lange's anal cavity. What about yourself?
Well, I would rather go for the ass. No. I would think that would not be a place that seems very appetizing.
Yeah.
He said there was he used to say that they let's see, they charged him $500 or something like that, and I'm wondering if they charged them by the pound. Come on, it's all but good. All but good.